So let me take your imagination to 20,000 years ago, to a time when animals that you would think only existed in comic books and stories hunted Native Americans. Yes, you've just walked across a frozen land bridge from Siberia, your feet wrapped in mammoth hide, your nose frozen stiff, and your only weapon is a sharp stick you carved 2 weeks ago with your teeth. You're tired, hungry, and hopeful. Because hey, this is the new world, right? Time to find berries, maybe chase a deer or two, settle down, and invent s'mores. Wrong. You take 5 steps into North America and realize this place is already taken, and not by friendly woodland critters. No, it's crawling with muscle-bound monsters that look like they were rejected from Jurassic Park for being too violent. That rustling in the grass? Not wind. That's a 10-foot bird that runs like a cheetah and bites like a chainsaw. That growl? Not a dog. That's a bear that stands taller than your entire hunting party combined. And what's that glint in the bushes? Surprise! Saber-toothed cat. And you're the appetizer. So make sure you stick around to the end of this video because the most dangerous animal is waiting for you at the end. Welcome to Prehistoric America, a place where the trees aren't the only things watching you. Every step you take is a gamble. Every stream could hide jaws. Every cave, a den of something that doesn't want roommates. Humans may have had brains, but out here, brawn ruled. You weren't the hunter. Yet. You were basically a protein bar with legs. If you didn't walk in groups, keep fire burning all night, and sleep with one eye open, you weren't going to make it to sunrise. And that's the first big lesson. Just because you walk upright and make fire doesn't mean nature's going to give you a crown. Out here, you weren't king. You were just fresh meat in a land that had already learned how to eat things like you. So let's say you've survived your first night in prehistoric America. You've got a small fire going, your tribe is huddled close, and you're finally drifting off. When you hear heavy breathing. Not human breathing. Not even deer breathing. We're talking windpipe the size of a tree trunk breathing. That's your first and last warning before Arctidus simus, the short-faced bear, comes crashing into your life like a nightmare in fur. This thing wasn't a cuddly grizzly. It stood 12 feet tall when upright, weighed about 2,000 pounds, and could run nearly 40 miles per hour, faster than a racehorse. And while modern bears might stop and think, this one, no hesitation. It didn't wait for you to die of exposure. It hunted you down because it wanted the full experience. Freshly screaming. And don't let the short-faced name fool you. That just meant it had a short snout, giving it better binocular vision, which made you easier to track and harder to escape. Also, it could smell you from miles away. If you were cooking fish, congratulations, you just sent out a dinner invitation with your location included. Early Native Americans probably tried everything. Fire, shouting, maybe throwing stones. But up against this bear in a flat-out sprint, you'd better be the fastest person in your camp. Or the one who knows how to climb trees really fast. And even then, good luck. So yeah, while humans were clever, Arctodus was just faster, stronger, and had zero chill. One-on-one, no contest. You were a meat popsicle waiting to happen. Just when you thought oversized bears were your worst problem, in comes the American lion, strutting through the tall grass like it owns the place. And honestly, it kind of did. These cats were 25% bigger than modern African lions, and they weren't here to pose for paintings on cave walls. They were here to stalk and snack. They didn't roar before pouncing, no dramatic warning, just silence, then claws. These beasts could bring down a horse like it was a chicken nugget, a fully grown horse. Now imagine what it could do to a barefoot human gathering berries with a basket. Yeah, not great odds. Unlike the short-faced bear who chased you like a linebacker, the American lion was more of a ghost. It crept through forests, slinked across open plains, and waited for the perfect moment to pounce. Early Native American tribes learned real quick. Walking alone was a terribly bad idea. That's how you ended up as a cautionary tale around the fire. So they adapted. They set up night watches, burned smoky fires, and slept in tight circles, because the flicker of flames was the closest thing they had to a do not disturb sign. Even then, it wasn't foolproof. These lions didn't care about your safety blanket or your ceremonial chants. If it was hungry, someone wasn't waking up in the morning. And here's the cold furry truth. There's no outrunning a 600-pound killing machine with paws the size of dinner plates. So your best defense? Make sure there's always someone in the group slower than you. Harsh, but honest. And if you thought modern wolves were scary, just wait till you meet their prehistoric cousins, the dire wolves. Not just bigger, but heavier, meaner, and built like tanks with fur. These weren't the sleek, howling wolves from fairy tales. These were bone-breaking, flesh-ripping, pack-hunting monsters with jaws strong enough to crush your femur like a breadstick. Standing taller and weighing up to 150 pounds, dire wolves weren't lone wanderers. They traveled in tight, coordinated packs, like a furry special forces unit. And unlike modern wolves, who might second-guess attacking humans, these ones didn't flinch. If food got scarce and you happened to be the slowest one near a campfire, congratulations, you just became the evening meal. Fossils of these things have been found all over North America, especially near Rancho La Brea in modern-day California, right next to the remains of early humans. That's not a coincidence. That's dinner history. These wolves likely followed human groups just like they followed mammoths, waiting for someone to wander off to pee in the dark or check on a crying baby outside the firelight. Early Native Americans were no fools. They figured out real quick that noise, fire, and numbers were the only way to make it through the night. Sleeping in silence was a death wish. Traveling alone? That's called donating yourself to the food chain. They formed tight hunting bands, not just for hunting, but for not getting hunted. Because when wolves hunt in packs, the only way to survive is to be in a bigger, louder, smellier pack, preferably one with dogs, drums, and someone with really bad foot odor. So if you're ever in a prehistoric forest and hear rustling in the dark, don't run alone. Scream, link arms, and start chanting, or just make sure you're not the smallest snack in the group. So, let's say you've made it this far. You've survived prehistoric lions, bears, and a wolf pack with an attitude problem. You're finally walking through the sunny marshlands of what's now Florida. Birds chirping, frogs croaking. Peaceful, right? Then you hear it. Thud. 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 That's not thunder. That's Titanus walleri, the giant terror bird, and it is sprinting straight at you like it's late for dinner and you're the entree. This creature stood 10 feet tall, weighed over 300 pounds, and couldn't fly a single inch. But don't laugh, it could run up to 40 miles per hour. That's faster than Usain Bolt, with claws. And its weapon of choice? A sharp, curved beak capable of punching straight through bone and into your brain. It didn't peck, it impaled. Terror birds were apex predators in the southeastern US, especially in regions like Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas, exactly where many early native tribes started settling. So if you were gathering firewood or digging for roots near the forest edge and heard heavy stomps behind you, your options were 1. Drop everything and pray. 2. Climb a tree fast. 3. Scream loud enough to get the whole tribe running your way with spears and regrets. The worst part? They didn't roar or growl. These things hunted in silence. They'd stalk you through tall grass like prehistoric ninjas with murder in their eyes. And since they couldn't fly, they evolved to chase and kill with brutal efficiency. By now, you've probably got trust issues with every leaf, shadow, and breeze. And just when you thought maybe, just maybe, it was finally safe to collect some water or take a stroll along a nice cliff trail, bam, you get attacked by a Smilodon fatalis. The saber-toothed cat, not a lion, not a tiger. More like nature's serial killer in a fur coat. This thing didn't chase its meals like some hungry fool. No, it waited. It studied. It listened to your footsteps, your breath, the way your voice cracked when you realized the forest had gone just a little too quiet. Smilodon was a professional, a ghost with fangs. And those fangs? Yeah, they were no joke. 7 inches long. Not curved like modern big cats, but razor-straight knives designed to slice into the softest part of your neck. Smilodon didn't kill messy. It was fast, surgical. It didn't have to break bones. It just went straight for the kill switch. Physically? Think linebacker. Massive shoulders, short but powerful legs, thick neck muscles built to hold down prey way bigger than a human. Mammoths, giant sloths, bison. So if it could kill one of those without breaking a sweat, what do you think it could do to you, barefoot and carrying a handful of berries? Not the Rinjadomi. Native Americans learned the hard way. You don't walk through dense brush without backup. You don't go near water without someone watching your back. And you never wander off alone for just a minute. That's how people disappeared, silently. And even if you saw one coming, what were you gonna do? Yell? Throw a stick? Good luck. That cat would have looked at your stick like, "Aw, how cute, he thinks he has a chance." Smilodon wasn't just a predator, it was a silent end waiting in the shadows. And if you weren't ready, you didn't get a second chance. You just became the next story told around the fire, if anyone made it back to tell it. If saber-toothed cats were nature's jump scares, then Deinosuchus was the one you didn't even get to scream about. It didn't growl, it didn't chase, it just waited. Quiet, still, half buried in mud, pretending to be part of the scenery. And when you finally let your guard down, maybe you bent over to wash your hands or reached for a fish trap, boom, game over. This monster wasn't your average croc. It stretched over 35 feet long, weighed more than 5 pickup trucks, and had a jaw powerful enough to snap a bison clean in half like a stale breadstick. It didn't play, it didn't warn. If you so much as dipped your toes in its swamp, that was it. You were lunch. And where did these prehistoric murder logs hang out? Right in the American South, Texas, Georgia, Florida. The same places where early Native Americans lived, hunted, bathed, fished, and tried to mind their own business. But you couldn't just mind your business in Deinosuchus territory. One innocent splash from your foot while fetching water could get you folded in half and spun like a sock in the rinse cycle. The worst part? It looked like driftwood. Just a regular old log floating near the riverbank. Until that log lunged out of the water and clamped down on your leg like a bear trap made by the devil. By the time you realized it wasn't a log, you were already upside down and halfway to the bottom. Early tribes figured it out fast. Don't go near the water alone, post a lookout, and if you see a floating log that hasn't moved in hours, maybe it's watching you. Still water, it doesn't mean peace. It means something is lurking just beneath the surface, waiting for dinner to get cocky. Because in Deinosuchus country, you weren't fishing, you were being fished, and it was always hungry. So, you've already survived sprinting lions, oversized wolves, and crocodiles pretending to be logs. Naturally, you start thinking, you know what, maybe I'll just head out to the desert. No trees, no water, just sand and quiet. Maybe I'll finally catch a break. Wrong. Because waiting out there in the sun-baked canyons and rocky wastelands of Ice Age America was something nobody warned you about. Giant, prehistoric hyenas. Yes, hyenas in America, Axis. Specifically, a beast called Chasmoporthes, a predator with the speed of a cheetah and the personality of a chainsaw. Tall, long-limbed, fast, and built for bone crushing. This wasn't the snickering cartoon scavenger from The Lion King. This thing was all business, and the business was breaking you into chewable chunks. Sure, it would scavenge if a mammoth dropped dead nearby, but it didn't mind doing its own dirty work either. If you were out there walking alone, maybe collecting cactus fruit, maybe just chasing a lizard with a stick, it might already be watching you. Quiet, focused. Their jaws were like industrial tools. They could crack femurs like sunflower seeds, and their noses, tuned for blood, sweat, fear, anything that told them you were vulnerable. That's why early Native Americans didn't mess around. You didn't go anywhere alone, not to collect firewood, not to stretch your legs, not even to pee. You moved in groups or you didn't move at all. And if you ever heard something that sounded like a dry, raspy laugh echoing off the canyon walls, that wasn't someone telling jokes. That was the hyena letting you know you'd been made. What made Chasmoporthes truly terrifying was how adaptable it was. Deserts, forests, cliffs, they didn't care. You didn't have to be near water, you didn't have to be doing anything dumb, you just had to be alone and breathing. That was already one mistake too many. After dodging every prehistoric horror show nature could dream up, man-eating lions, steroidal bears, nightmare birds with no wings, crocodiles the size of buses, and desert hyenas with bone-crushing smiles, you'd think early Native Americans were toast. Like, how do you even live in a place where everything has claws, fangs, or jaws that can snap your spine like a twig? But nope, humans didn't give up. They did what humans do best. They adapted. You couldn't outrun a short-faced bear. You couldn't outsneak a saber-toothed cat. You couldn't outbite a direwolf. But you could think, and more importantly, plan ahead. So they got strategic. First came the night watches, because after one or two people got silently dragged off into the bushes mid-snooze, the tribe decided someone should stay awake and poke the fire. Every single night. Then came the fire rings. Not just cozy little campfires, but full-on glowing circles meant to scare away anything with fur, claws, or bad intentions. Flames were their fences, and they kept them burning like life depended on it, because it did. They raised dogs, not for cuddles or playing fetch, but as living alarm systems. The second something snapped a twig out there, those dogs would lose their minds. And that barking gave the tribe a few precious seconds to grab spears or run. They got crafty with traps, dug hidden pits, sharpened sticks, and chipped obsidian blades so sharp they could slice clean through bone. They watched tracks, studied animal poop, no shame, and learned to treat silence like a warning siren. They used rituals, chants, even songs to stay alert and connected. But let's be real, sometimes none of it mattered. If a 2-ton bear charged out of nowhere, or a Deinosuchus decided to launch from the water mid-laundry, you were mostly depending on luck, muscle memory, or standing next to your clumsy cousin. Because yeah, brains helped. But in a world where everything wanted to eat you, sometimes your best survival skill was knowing when to run and who to hide behind. If there's one thing we've learned from walking even a mile in prehistoric moccasins, it's this. Nature was not your friend. It wasn't peaceful, it wasn't spiritual, and it definitely wasn't fair. It didn't care how many mammoth hide layers you had on, how many sticks you rubbed together to make fire, or if all you wanted was to quietly gather some berries and mind your business. Out there, everything had teeth, and nearly all of it was hungry. Today, we scream when we see a spider in the bathroom. But 15,000 years ago, a late-night pee break could land you face-to-face with a saber-toothed cat, a giant crocodile, or a bear big enough to use your entire family as finger food. And what did you have to protect yourself? No pepper spray, no flashlight, no one to call, just a sharp stick, decent reflexes, and if the spirits were on your side, a solid sprinting game. And yet, they survived. Early Native Americans didn't just curl up and cry. They figured it out. They shaped weapons from rock. They tracked animal patterns better than any modern GPS. They read wind, silence, bird calls, broken branches, everything. And they told stories. Real, bone-chilling, blood-soaked warnings passed down through generations. Not fairy tales. These are survival guides wrapped in rhythm and memory. What's the takeaway for us? Respect nature. Don't forget we came from a world where we were very edible. We weren't in charge. We were walking snacks with soft skulls and bad night vision. So if you ever wake up somehow teleported back to the Ice Age, don't panic. Don't try to start a podcast. Just shuffle toward the nearest fire, pick up the biggest club you can find, and sit beside the slowest person in the group. Because back then, survival wasn't about being tough. It was about being alert, a little bit ruthless, and knowing when to run like your life depended on it. Because it did. So if you enjoyed this wild ride through time, do me a favor, like the video, smash that subscribe button like it owes you mammoth meat, and drop a comment below telling me which prehistoric nightmare you think you'd definitely die to first. No shame. Mine's a terror bird. I wouldn't even run. I just apologize. And if you want more history like this, raw, real, and just a little unhinged, stick around. There's a whole lot more where that came from. Until next time, stay curious, stay weird, and whatever you do, never trust still water.